Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be trying Suqqu makeup for the very first time. I've heard so many good things about Suqqu makeup. I've been very interested in it in the past, and I finally decided to take the plunge and try a few of their items. So I've got a couple of products from their latest autumn-winter 2022 collection. I have one of the eyeshadow palettes and one of the blushes from that collection. So I'm going to be trying those out, and I also got one of their sheer matte lipsticks to try out. So if you'd like to see me try all of those and provide some comparisons with other products in my collection and share my thoughts on this new to me brand, just keep on watching. So if you look at Suqqu's website, they have a really great overview of this autumn-winter collection, and they share some of the inspiration. They even have some excerpts of poetry, I think, that just are meant to kind of represent what this collection is all about and the inspiration behind this collection. One of the things they say about this collection is that it expresses the dynamism of autumn. The collection dramatically presents the most colorful season of the year. So if you look at this collection, there are 3 quads in addition to the one that I have here, and they all do have a little bit of colorfulness to them, but in an autumnal way. They're slightly more muted versions of the colors, and I think that's just a Suqqu thing in general, is that you can get colors from them, but they're going to be a little bit more muted, softer, and probably more wearable because of that. And as a soft autumn myself, if you look at seasonal color analysis, I'm pretty sure that I'm a soft autumn. This collection really speaks to me in that way as well. So I was really excited to try these products and have this be my first foray into Suqqu makeup. So I wanted to start out with the eyes. So this is the eyeshadow palette that I got. It is number 117, and it's called AKIUREI, I think is how you say it. I looked up what this word means, and when I looked it up in Google Translate, it translated as autumn sorrows. So I thought that was such a poetic name for this, and a really beautiful palette. Let's just swatch it first because I'm not familiar with their formula at all. I've seen lots of reviews on Suqqu products, so I know that I'm expecting these to be quite soft and super blendable. So there are the 4 shades there. All right, so here are our swatches. I love this kind of beigey rose, more metallic shade. It has quite a nice shine on it. This one here is actually a very soft duochrome, so it has more of a kind of warmer brown base with a slight, almost greeny reflect that resembles the green down here. This green here was the real drawing card to this palette for me. I love this type of a mossy kind of green. And then we have the matte here, which is also very soft in texture, a nice kind of neutral leaning warm brown, I would say. So it looks like these will work very nicely together in terms of the colors. And let's see what I can put together for a look here. This is one of the limited edition quads in this collection, and it is described as hollow brown and ash green. So I guess it's more of an ash green, this one, but mossy ash, same kind of feel. I think I'll start out with the brownish matte here and just get a little bit of that going in the crease. Okay, so it's actually quite pigmented. That was just one little dip into the pan. For some reason, I was expecting it to be more lightly pigmented, kind of like the Gucci palette that I recently reviewed, but I'm actually getting quite a lot from it there, but it's blending very, very easily. So I wanted to leave that brown pretty light. I can build it up later if I want to, but I'd like to try this one here. This is that soft duochrome. You can see it better on my finger, the flip there. And I'm going to just pat that on about the outer third of my lid there with my finger. couple layers of that, and then I'm going back to my classic crease brush with nothing additional on it and just blending the edges. So certainly a very soft effect with that one as well. It's a very beautiful shade. I think you can see the duochrome shift better when it's on the eyes because of the texture and the kind of convex shape of the eyelid. So I like that, and I thought that would be a good color to bridge the matte to the green that I want to put all over my lid. So let's get into that ash green, as they're calling it. Again, just going to take it on my finger and pat it over the rest of my lid. Just taking my Wayne Goss number 6 edit brush to blend the crease again. To just add a little bit more depth in here, I think we've lost some of the matte that I initially blended into the inner part of the crease. It's still there, but it was quite light when I added it anyway. And the effect of adding the other colors closer to it just kind of reduces the visibility. So I'm just adding a little bit of the duochrome shade back into that kind of inner half of the crease. Now for the lower lash line, I think I'll start out with the duochrome again. That kind of hollow brown, I guess is what they're calling this shade. I'm going to concentrate that on, well, I'll put it all over, but I'm planning to actually add some other colors on top of it. But I'll use this as a nice foundation. These shadows have a gorgeous soft blend. They diffuse so beautifully. You can kind of see there that it just naturally gives you a bit of a gradient. So you've got more concentrated color here, and then it kind of just gradually fades into nothing, which I think gives the most flattering effect on the eyes, at least on my eyes. I really like that because I think it kind of just softens everything, but also makes your eyes look a little bit bigger, but it's never harsh looking because it just diffuses so gradually and seamlessly. Now I'm going to take a slightly smaller Wayne Goss brush. It's the number 7 in his edit collection, and going into that green shade with that. Actually trying to pick up a decent amount of product there. And then I want this to be sort of in the middle of my lower lash line, just to echo a little bit of that color up on top. And I do love this type of a green. I think it works well with my coloring and looks nice with my eye color. So I'm always drawn to this type of a tone. And then I'm going into the matte, same brush, and just lightly sweeping that along the outer edge. Taking my Sonia G Lotus Detail brush finally into this beautiful pale pinky shimmer. This is definitely the most shimmery, shiny, reflective shade in this palette, but it still has such a softness to it. I'm just blending that through the inner corner, pulling it up a little bit, pulling it down to complete the lower lash line. So on the inner quarter to third, kind of overlapping the green there, and then very softly diffusing that also kind of down into the under eye area. This is so my kind of color. I feel so comfortable in this color. I mean, both on my eyes and just like in clothing and everything. It's a really great color, and I can tell that it's not going to go peachy. It's much more of a dusty pink. Sometimes colors that look like this will turn peach on me, and I do like peaches, but when I see this color in the pan, I want it to look like that on my eyes. And it definitely does. It's beautiful. Going back with that number 6 Wayne Goss, I've wiped all the color off it and going back into that pink just to blend around the edges and do a little bit of brow bone highlighting and just kind of blend everything together. And that's what we're working with so far. And I really just want to add a little bit of liner, so I think I'll try using this brown. It's not a super deep brown, but we'll see what happens. Usually that type of color is okay for a soft liner. I'm going to use my Sigma angled liner brush and quickly line my eyes. So this eye has the liner, this one doesn't. It's a very subtle difference, but it just adds a little bit more definition and depth at the lash line, which is what I wanted. So I'm going to go do my mascara and then I'll come back and we'll try out the blush and the lipstick. Here's the completed eye look. I used the L'Oreal Brown Balm Mascara, which was actually recommended to me by a viewer a couple of months back. And I didn't quite like it at first, but now since it's had a little bit of time to dry out, as many mascaras do, it has improved in my eyes and it's become a little bit more grippy, and I like the effect that it gives my lashes, and I just thought it would be nice to use a brown mascara with this look because it's such a soft, kind of earthy, browny toned makeup look. I thought the brown mascara would be nice to go with it. And then I used my Chantecaille brightening eyeliner on my lower waterline, just to add a little bit of brightness and open the eyes up even more. And now I'm very eager to try this blush. This is one of their melting powder blushes, and I've been very curious about this formula since I heard of it. Even just the name melting powder blush sounds very appealing to me, and I've seen a number of reviews on these blushes, and even just looking at what they look like in the pan, just looking at the texture, I could tell that it would be a texture that I would really like in a blush. So this is the shade number 09, Karenzaki, and it's described as an innocent beige by the brand. This doesn't seem to be listed as a limited edition, so that's great if this is a color that people are interested in. It should be available for quite a while. So that's the swatch on my finger and then on my hand. Beautiful, soft, pinky beige. It has a bit of a sheen to it, which I love. And let's get this on the cheeks. I'm using my Sonia G Soft Cheek, my favorite brush for powder blushes. And I'm just gonna go right in there and pick that up. So here is what the blush looks like. This blush was a dream to apply. It's actually more pigmented than I expected it to be. I probably could have gotten away with just one dip into the pan if I wanted a little bit of a more subtle look, but it built really nicely as well. I think the thing that struck me most when applying this was how it blended. It was very interesting because the pigment does stay more concentrated where you first apply it. So I first placed it right here and then blended out from there, and it blended very easily and seamlessly. But I liked how the pigment was still just a little bit more concentrated right where I first touched it to the skin, because that's really where I want the most concentration anyway. And typically that's how you would apply blush, I think, is you kind of start where you want the most and then work out from there. The texture seems to have a nice combination of staying power and blendability at the same time, which is great. It'll be interesting to see how this wears. My skin does tend to eat blushes and cheek products in general, so it'll be interesting to see if I feel like I need a touch-up later on in the day. I will update you on this in the future, probably in an updates video once I've had some more time to try this out. But so far, really happy with this, and I do love the texture on the skin. It looks very natural and skin-like, and I think the shade is beautiful. It has a subtle warmth to it, but not too warm. It has a nice, healthy, sun-kissed kind of effect on the skin. And this is one of those shades that, to the uninitiated, might look pretty dull and boring, but those types of blush shades are really my favorites because they give such a nuanced, natural blush look to the skin that I think has a very refined quality to it. So let's finally move on to the lipstick. Now this lipstick is not part of the Autumn Winter 2022 collection. I believe this is a permanent shade. It's in their sheer matte lipstick range, and similar to the melting powder blushes, I just love the sound of that sheer matte lipstick. And also I've seen a number of very positive reviews of these. So the shade I chose was actually the shade 01 Yamazakura, and it's described as a natural rose. Here is what it looks like on the hand. Looks very promising, kind of in the same vein as the blush. I just want to actually swatch the blush next to it. You can certainly see those colors getting along. So let's try this on the lips. There's one layer of the lipstick. Let's see if it will build at all. And here we have 2 layers. I'm very impressed by this lipstick. If you look at the texture of it on the lips, it really looks like you have nothing on the lips. It looks like my lips naturally look when I don't have any balm or gloss or anything. It's not shiny at all, but they don't look dry either. It just looks like healthy lip skin basically with nothing on it. But it has this beautiful rich pigment, which I think gives a stunning effect. I love this color. I'm really happy with this. It's so hard to choose lipstick colors online, especially I find if you've never tried the brand before and you kind of don't know how their promo photos skew in terms of comparing them from the photos to real life. The photo for this shade on the Suqqu website looks incredibly peach. It looks lighter than this and like it has no brown in it at all. But this has, to me, the perfect balance of kind of rose, peach, brown, kind of like Kitten Mischief from Lisa Eldridge. I don't feel like I need to have a liner with this at all. It's just perfect on its own, and I'm really happy with this. This is the type of shade I can wear with pretty much any look. Again, just like Kitten Mischief, I feel that this is less vibrant and a little bit perhaps less pinky than Kitten Mischief, but a similar feel in terms of the versatility and how easy it is for me to wear with my skin tone. The only other lipstick I can think of that this formula reminds me of is the Merit Signature Lightweight Lipsticks. I feel like it's a very similar formula to those, and that is one of my absolute favorite lipstick formulas ever because it has that similar effect of the very natural matte finish that just looks like your skin, paired with enough pigmentation and a really even texture that is very flattering on the lips, and that similarly is a little bit buildable as well. So I'm really excited about this lipstick and about all of these products. I wanted to do some comparisons, so I'd like to start with the blush. I have a few comparisons, and then I think I will pull out a few lipsticks as well to compare to this one. Here are my blush swatches, starting here with the Suqqu in Karenzaki. This one here is the Buxom Primer Infused Blush in the shade Seychelles, which I'm really happy to see how close these are to one another. If you look at them next to each other, they even have similar textures, which I was actually really hoping for with the Suqqu. This Buxom blush is one of my favorites. I haven't worn it much lately. It does have hyaluronic acid in it, so I certainly haven't used it since I discovered that. But this, even before I started my YouTube channel, this was my go-to blush every day. And I loved it for a lot of the same reasons that I like the Suqqu one. It has kind of a soft sheen to it. The shade is a perfect neutral, slightly warming beige that just works really well for me. And the texture is even similar. So it has that sort of melting quality on the skin. So I'm very happy to see how similar those are to one another. And another upside of the Suqqu for me is that it doesn't have a fragrance. The Buxom has kind of a coconutty scent, which isn't my favorite, not ideal for me. The next one in the lineup here is this Hermes Rose Ombre. Another beautifully subtle, kind of soft, neutral toned blush. It's almost like we have a gradient here of neutral blushes that are just getting progressively slightly more pinky mauve as we go along. So the Rose Ombre is a little bit more kind of purpley mauvey than these other two up here. The next one in the lineup is Pat McGrath Flirtatious. So again, I'm just seeing a little bit more coolness, a little bit more purpley, almost grayness in that one. And then the bottom one here is a Tarte blush. This is one of their Amazonian clay blushes, and it's the shade Fairy Flush. I'm not sure if this one is still available. This was definitely a limited edition packaging, but this was another that before I started my YouTube channel, when I was kind of first really getting into makeup, this and the Buxom were my two go-tos for every day. And you can see that they have similar tones and are definitely comparable to the Suqqu. So once again, we have Suqqu Karenzaki, then Buxom Seychelles, Hermes Rose Ombre, Pat McGrath Flirtatious, and Tarte Fairy Flush. And here I have my lipstick swatches. This is the Suqqu in number 1, Yamazakura. Then we have two Merit lipsticks. This one is Slip and this one is Baby. Next up we have Lisa Eldridge's Kitten Mischief. Then right here we have Velvet Fawn from Lisa Eldridge and Le Mépris from Lisa Eldridge. So I think there are variations among all of these tones. As I said, the Merit lipsticks are definitely the most similar in texture and feel and effect on the lips to the Suqqu one. I don't think either of these shades is a direct match to the Suqqu, so kind of interesting just to see how they all compare. The Suqqu is a little bit warmer than Baby, it's a little bit peachier than Slip, and as I suspected, it is a little bit browner and less bright than Kitten Mischief, but I do think they have similar tones, similar mix of tones, just the balance is slightly more toward the kind of pinky side, I think, with Kitten Mischief, and it's a brighter, more vibrant color. And then I just wanted to compare it to Velvet Fawn. I was just curious to see how those would look. Velvet Fawn to me looks a lot cooler, it looks deeper, and the formula is very different. Lisa's Velvet Mattes are very richly pigmented and much more richly pigmented than the Suqqu one. And curiously, I think that Le Mépris is actually the most similar shade to the Suqqu one. It's a little bit lighter, I think it's a little bit more sheer, and it's definitely a different formula. So the Luxuriously Lucents are a shinier, kind of more balmy feeling formula. The Suqqu ones don't feel drying on the lips, but you can tell that they are a matte. It's a very kind of thin matte feeling with some moisturizing properties as well, actually, but not nearly as balmy as the Luxuriously Lucent ones. But the shades do look pretty similar. Le Mépris is definitely a bit lighter, and I think the effect on the lips of Le Mépris is even lighter still because it has that shine to it, so it has that more light reflecting quality, which is just going to make it look like a lighter shade in general than the matte, which is not really reflecting any light. I think I've given my thoughts pretty thoroughly about the blush and the lipstick. I just wanted to mention about the eyeshadow palette. The only thing I can see right now that would improve it in my eyes, this is just my first impression, so it will take more time playing with it, but I do kind of wish that the duochrome effect on this one was just a little bit stronger. And I kind of think that there would be room for this one to be a more sheer formula, so it could still have that duochrome, the same base and reflect colors, but a little bit of a more kind of shimmery feel to it, and one of those kind of thinner, slightly translucent feeling formulas would be interesting for this one, and then it could be used really nicely as a topper shade as well. As it is, I think it's just a little bit too kind of richly pigmented. It's a little bit too opaque to be used as a topper type shade. At least that's my impression of it today. But overall, I think this is a beautiful palette. I'm really happy with the colors. I think it's a perfect color story for me and my taste, and a beautiful representation of autumn, albeit in a very soft way. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. I always love to see those. If you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I'd love for you to do so. Thanks again so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.